The next spanning tree tool is called BPDU guard. What it does, it shuts down the port if it hears BPDU frames. So we would be using that feature on access layer, where we know for a fact there should not be any switches connected but computers, maybe routers, maybe some phones, stuff like that. Things that are at access layer can potentially disrupt the operation of the network. So there's a known attack. I can enable a tool on the PC that will emulate the operation of a switch, and if that switch becomes the root bridge, the traffic between switches will flow through that new root elected here on the PC and allows the attacker to capture the traffic. So how can we protect ourselves from that? We can enable BPDU guard on all access layer ports where we know for a fact there will not be any switches connected. For example, let's take this 1-2 where my PC is connected here. So if I want to enable that feature, it can be done in two ways. It doesn't matter if it is applied globally with spanning tree portfast default command or at the interface level. The operation is pretty much the same. The port is going to be shut down the moment it receives any BPDU frame. So at the moment, my port E12 shows spanning tree interface E12. Let's go detail. Never received BPDU. It's just a regular port. BPDU are being sent because by default system is sending BPDU on all designated ports, and that port is obviously designated. So if I want to protect that port from a potential attacker and switch connection or maybe miscabling sometimes, I can do this in two ways. One is spanning tree portfast default. So with this command I can add the BPDU guard. So spanning tree portfast BPDU guard default. So either I enable the portfast globally, and with that command I enable BPDU guard here, or I can do this at the interface level. Irrespective which way I'm going to use, it works pretty much the same. So I could also jump to interface, and maybe I'll remove that command. No. I can go to interface E12 and enable spanning tree BPDU guard enable commands. So with this way. So portfast does not have to be on the port. I can do this just with this command on the port. Now, what happens when a switch receives BPDU frame? It's quite simple. I'm going to now emulate the attacker. So I'm going to create a switch on this device, bridge 1 protocol IEEE, and enable this on E02 port. So the moment we receive BPDU when I hit enter, so now this PC is sending BPDU frames, and the moment that happens, switch 3, upon receiving BPDU, the block is taking effect. Receive BPDU on port E12 with BPDU guard enabled, disabling port. So what effectively happens, do show interface E12, the port will be kind of like shut down. It's going to be error disabled. So both layer 1 here and layer 2 here are down. So we can also do this do show interface E12 status. Just maybe single out this port to see that. And we see that the port is currently in error disabled state. Now, if I stop sending those packets, the port will not come up. So if I say no bridge, so I will stop sending BPDUs, the port will not come up on its own. There are two ways to bring the port back up. One way is due to shutdown and no shutdown. That'll do. Now, the only thing is that with this method, obviously, it's the most secure method because admin knows something happened and it can inspect what was or investigate what was going on there. Or if, let's say, we have thousands of ports and maybe we're a little bit lazy, overwhelmed with work, we can enable error disable features. So system has do show error disable recovery. There's something known error disable recovery on switches, and switches can try to reinstate the port by bringing this up upon certain error disable states, and one of them is BPDU guard right here. Currently that feature is disabled, so if I wanted to do that, so what I want to do is in the global config mode, I would say error disable and recovery option. There's two parameters we need to specify. One is the cause, in our case would be BPDU guard, and how long the system should be error disabled state before it tries to bring the port back up. So if I say cause is BPDU guard, and I will say the interval is going to be 30 seconds for the simplicity here. So do show run include error disable. I have those two commands now in the global config mode. The system knows that if the port is disabled because of the BPDU guard, it will try to bring this back up after 30 seconds. So let's emulate again a problem. Let's bring this port back down by sending BPDU frame. Now I'll just remove that switch from the network. So meanwhile I'll stop sending those BPDUs, and we'll see that in roughly 20 seconds or so the port is going to try to recover itself from that error disabled state. Do show interface E12 status. So currently it's error disabled. Now we'll see in a few seconds that the port is going to try to come up. It just came back up. So now, since the BPDUs are not being sent, the port stays up. If I send the BPDU again, obviously the port is going to go down again. So another feature, the last feature I want to cover in the next video, is going to be root guard, which protects the root in our network from superior BPDUs received from on certain ports.